It really means a lot, everyone. It really means a lot. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yo,
Yo,
what's
what
up?
up,
How old are
Parker?
you?
I'm 21.
For sure. Do you believe in God? Oh, he just left. Okay. Oh, there's John Bobby. We see John Bobby. I'll remember you forever too. Oh, I don't know if that's true, but I love y'all. I love y'all.
Yeah,
Yo,
it's
what's up?
crazy. For some reason, it didn't pop up to join the request thing until you accepted that other guy.
TikTok's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
Okay, so the point that I was bringing up is that our intuitions about what is going to be right to do for humans is going to be like a different standard than what we're going to apply to God. Like in this scenario, it's going to be the case that a human being sees a child drowning, has the ability to stop this from happening, and should stop it from happening. But when it relates to God, it's that it doesn't matter whether or not he stops it from happening. Actually, it's the better thing that he doesn't stop it, as that's what he did within reality. So it seems to be like we come to an issue of what we would expect from humans has a double standard in what relates to what we would expect from God.
No, not necessarily. We can't have free will if God keeps intervening in our lives.
This wouldn't be free will, though, because we're talking about an infant, right? They haven't reached the age of accountability yet, and we're talking about saving them from death in which wasn't caused by them or caused by anyone. So,
Well, the
like,
death was
this
caused
is
by neglect. It's death by
no, it
neglect.
wasn't,
And
because remember they got killed.
who got killed? You said the baby
The
was drowning, and
parents,
there's people by, and they didn't do anything to rescue the baby.
the
That would
parents.
be
No,
neglect, correct?
the people who aren't doing anything is God in this circumstance, right? Because the parents died, right? And there's a baby in the bathtub, and the baby in the bathtub ends up drowning, right? And it's gonna die. Okay, so if
Oh,
it's gonna
what I was saying in the grand scheme of things is it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's bad that we see it that way. We see it as a bad thing, but that baby is not doomed to go to hell because that baby has not sinned. You see what I'm saying?
oh no, but like it's still gonna suffer. Like I mean, like in this sense, right? Couldn't we
Well,
just
no,
say
it's not
that
going to
like
suffer. I mean, I bet you don't have any memories from when you were like 1 or 2 years old.
yeah, that doesn't mean that there's not suffering. Like there can still be suffering even if you don't have a memory of it.
I don't know how you. That's sort of like a Schrodinger's cat
Okay.
situation.
So if my grandma had dementia, right? If she was raped in her life at any point, she went through a traumatic experience with pain and stuff like that. If she forgot it when she had dementia, was that not a bad experience or a painful experience?
It's no longer a painful experience because she does not have memory of it.
So there's going to be no recognition of it. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, if she has no recognition of it or no recollection of it, then it for her it's as if it never happened.
Okay. Yeah. So okay. So if someone grapes another individual and removes that from their memory, right? Is it then okay?
How have they removed it from their memory?
Because essentially it didn't happen, right? Let's say that they use some sort of drug.
They use the drug to make themselves forget that they raped somebody?
No, you have to say up to R word or SA or grape.
Oh, I'm sorry, grape.
TOS. But no,
Apologize.
the other person who got graped, the victim.
So the victim that gets well, the sin still happened, but I mean, it's probably in the other
But they
person's.
forgot about it. Remember? You said that it doesn't matter if they forgot about it.
No, I didn't say it didn't matter. I'm saying it didn't happen to them. They don't feel as if it happened to them because they didn't remember the experience.
Yeah, but we
I'm
still
not saying
acknowledge
that
that it
there's
was
anything
bad.
good. I'm not
In
saying there's anything good about that. I'm still saying grape is bad, but for that person, if they have dementia and they got graped earlier in their life or whatever, and they have no recollection of it, it's a blessing that they don't have recollection of it.
But it's still something bad that happened, right?
Agreed. Yes,
That's
it
the
is
point I'm
not. It's
getting
not a
to.
good thing.
Yeah, so you would prefer, in this sense, the baby to have been poofed into heaven rather than to be drowned and then go to heaven, right?
Oh, that would be my preference, but I have no control over that. Nobody has control over that. God
God
has
does.
control over it. God has control over that, but God chooses not to exercise his judgment in our life in that way
That's
because we
not
have
exercising his
free.
judgment in our life. He's not taking away free will by doing this. All he's doing is stopping that pain of that individual there, right?
He's also stopping the pain of the individual, of the parents, from experiencing the loss of their child or whatever due to their neglect. You understand what I'm saying? See,
Well, no,
there's
they can
lessons.
still have a. By the way, in this sense, there wasn't the parents there. But if there was, right, the poofing can still happen while that is still the case, right? You can still poof the soul into heaven.
I don't understand what's the point of poofing. I mean, everything that lives experiences stress, it experiences pain. We're not going to spare something just because it's a baby. Like, no matter what a parent does throughout their life, because think of God as a parent. Your parents, whenever they were raising you, they couldn't spare you from all the pains of growing and all the negative experiences that I'm sure you probably
Yeah,
experienced
because it's out
sometime
of their
through your life.
control. If it
No,
was in
no,
their
not
control, then
necessarily
they
it's
could
out of their
have.
control. They're not going to follow you around and prevent you from getting these experiences, positive or negative, because you need those experiences in
If
your
my
life in order
mom
to grow as an individual.
if my mom could have got me to understand, say that I shouldn't put my hand on the stove because it's hot without me going through that experience, all right, I would expect my mom to have done so,
You wouldn't have
right?
been able to
If she had knowledge of
understand.
that.
You wouldn't be able to understand what it is, though, to, like, if she says the stove is hot, as a kid, you don't really have a understanding of what do you mean it's hot? Like, is it warm?
Again,
Is it
I'm giving you
cool?
an analogy to say that, like, if it is the case that she can give me this knowledge so that I don't have to go through the experience, that's what I would expect to occur.
Yeah, that's generally what he
Because they're a
does. That's what
loving
he did with the
parent.
Ten
Okay,
Commandments. That's what
so
parents do.
Here's my point, right? Experience in of itself is not necessary for knowledge because God has knowledge of all of these factors without having that experience. So the experience in of itself is not necessary.
The experience is necessary because we don't have God's knowledge.
We could be given God's knowledge within that respect. God could have just given us the knowledge rather than us going through the experience for the knowledge.
Yeah, but then we could also just not be born at all, and there'd be no human experience at all. Are you saying that the experiences that you experienced during your lifetime aren't worth experiencing because you had to experience pain of learning?
Yes, yeah, I would say that if you can avoid this pain, right? It's not necessary for them to go through this pain, and yet you still make them go through this pain. Well, then clearly speaking, we're gonna see that in a bad connotation. Like if I have a kid that has like an illness, right, and there's two different drugs. One cures them of the illness, and the other one cures them of the illness, and then also gives them back pain, right? Which one should I give them?
Well, you didn't have any negatives to the one that doesn't have back pain, so obviously that one.
Yeah, because there's unnecessary suffering with this one.
Yeah, but see, God teaches through suffering.
Yeah, but the
God
thing is,
even
God didn't have
when
to
God
teach through
sent Jesus,
suffering. God
when
could have
God sent
taught them through
Jesus to
innate
earth,
knowledge. Hold up. God could have taught them through innate knowledge rather than teaching them through experience. The experience is unnecessary. So if they didn't have to go
lessons
through
not
the
learned
pain
in
of the
blood are soon
experience,
forgotten.
okay, well, that's if we're relating to experience is the only way to gain knowledge. But they can have that innate knowledge without that experience, again, because God has that innate knowledge without the experience.
Well, let
So
me
if you,
ask you this: do you have to kill somebody to know that it's bad to kill them, or can we just tell you that it's bad to kill somebody for you to know it's bad to kill somebody?
well, I can believe that it's bad to kill someone based upon
Well,
like
see,
a
you don't need to
biology and
experience that,
just the
but that's
society.
not every experience isn't like that.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about what's limited given our current reality. We're not talking about what's limited given the sense that God would be creating things.
But see, if we knew everything that God knew and we weren't sinful by nature or whatever, we'd already all be in living in paradise and stuff like that.
That's actually what I'm saying is expected.
Why would you expect that?
Because God is a perfect creator. Perfect creator would entail that they create perfect things.
No, no, that's does. There's nowhere is it said that perfect beings have to create other perfect beings. If God would have created perfect beings, He would have
Wait.
created
Can I
more
give you like an
gods.
entailment? So when it relates to this, like perfect test taker, what do you expect to see?
Say again, what?
Perfect. There's a perfect test taker. What do you expect to see?
A perfect test taker?
Yeah, what do you expect to see from a perfect test taker?
Well, obviously a perfect score.
Perfect score, perfect test results. What do you expect to see from a perfect free throw shooter?
Never missing.
Yeah, The result is that they have a perfect amount of free throws made. So a perfect creator, what do you expect to see?
You're okay. I can see the parallel that you're trying to draw, but God's intention was never to create perfect beings. He never created perfect beings. The only being that he created that was perfect was Jesus.
Okay.
We were intended not to be perfect.
No. What do we expect to see?
It doesn't matter what our expectations
What
of.
would we expect to see? Because again, if we saw different from our expectation in any of the other scenarios, we'd say that's not the case, that they're not perfect. If we said that they were a perfect test taker and then they got 98% on a test, what is it? They're not a perfect test taker, right?
Well, they could be a perfect test taker. They could just be like, well, I don't feel like getting a perfect test result right now.
Well, then I wouldn't consider them a perfect test taker.
Well, they could be perfect on 99 out of 100 tests or whatever. They could be
That's
perfect.
not perfect.
Being a perfect test taker or whatever is a bad analogy because it removes intent. You no longer have the capability of doing less than perfect. And God has the ability to do less than perfect because he's not limited by
So God intends for there to be sin.
No. Sin
Okay.
is a result. This is one part where you get wrong. Whenever you say something is good, it doesn't mean you create evil. It means evil is a result of there being a good. There's now an antithesis because there's now a known quantity. So if I say it is good to mow your lawn every day of the week, if you don't mow your lawn every day of the week, is it still good? No. It is now bad. He hasn't created sin. Sin is a byproduct of him creating a good.
Wait. Say that again.
Sin is a byproduct of there being a known good.
Oh,
I was saying if I say it's good to mow your lawn every day of the week and you decide not to mow your lawn every day of the week, by virtue of not mowing it every day, that is now bad.
So if you think that if you don't do a moral action, then you're doing something bad.
No, I'm saying because God has made a clear set of defined values and propositions and stuff with regarding to human conduct, there is now a byproduct of sin because if you do not hold to what is good, then that falls into the arena of sin. Sin is not something that is perpetually here. Sin is an action that is momentary and fleeting. It happens in an instant.
Wait, I have a question. So you're saying that if it's not something that's considered good, it's considered bad?
Yeah, by virtue, if it's not good, it's automatically bad.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Is it bad for me to pick up a rock from the ground?
It is neither good nor bad.
There you go. Do you see my point?
You haven't made a point. You've sit there and you try to color outside of the lines. You can't. You can do something that's not good.
John,
that's also not bad.
John,
you can do something that's not good. That's also not bad. I'm not saying you can't do that.
John, you literally said, right, that if something is not good, then it is bad, and then I gave you a scenario in which something was nor good or bad. Okay, that was like right over your head, apparently.
No. It wasn't over my head. I understood what you did. You're trying to say that everything that isn't good is bad. There are null things, like it's neither good nor bad. Breathing is neither good nor bad, but it's conducive to living.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again,
what I'm talking about is if you have an opportunity to do something that is regarded as black or white, we'll say in this situation, if you choose not to do what is good, then you've elected to do what is not good. So if you have an opportunity in a conversation to tell the truth and lie.
My point is that just because something's not good doesn't mean it's bad.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Like, Gary, I appreciate the subscription. Thank you so much. That's literally what you did say, John.
No, I'm relating it to the 10 Commandments. Could think of the 10 Commandments.
John, don't gaslight me. You literally did say that, man. You literally did, bro.
I said specifically pertaining to what God's given us. He's given us a list or directives of conduct that we're to be beholden to while we're on the planet. And because that's good, that if you don't do that, it is bad. That's specifically and exactly what I said, and you know it.
You said
I said specifically that I said specifically that God has given us a code of conduct, and I said this, that if you don't adhere to God's code of conduct or whatever while we're here and alive, that if you operate outside of that good conduct, that is considered bad.
Okay, yeah. So if he considers it bad, right? Because it's not considered good conduct to pick up a rock. Okay. Yet you
It has
doing that
nothing
is
to do.
not
It has
considered
nothing to
bad.
do with right and wrong and sin.
Exactly my point.
And that's what I told
It's
you.
like
It's like trying
literally
to
my
make an
point.
argument saying that breathing is neither good nor bad. God doesn't have any conduct about breathing. God doesn't have any conduct about picking up a rock. God does have a conduct about you taking that rock and using it in a manner to hurt somebody else or vandalize their property
I
or do all
understand
sorts
that.
of stuff with. Now, God's not concerned with trivial matters like breathing and picking up with rocks, which is why he's got no
That's
conduct
exactly
for
my
it. And
point,
that's
John.
exactly what we're talking about is God's conduct.
Yeah,
God
you said
doesn't
if we
consider
don't
you
go
a
in
sinner.
accordance with God's conduct, then we're doing something bad. I gave you a scenario where we're not doing something in accordance with God's conduct, and you didn't say it was bad. That's my point.
You're not doing it it's not included in. It's like having a syllabus and you reading books, extracurricular books or whatever. It's neither good or bad. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't help you.
Exactly.
Yeah, you keep trying to take it out of context or whatever.
I'm not
I
taking
said
anything out of context. I'm telling you what you literally
you
did
have.
say.
No, I specifically said it's tied to what God has already declared is good. God said that you should not steal from your neighbor, shouldn't covet his wife, you shouldn't. What are the other commandments? You shouldn't murder people or whatever. Things that are pertaining to actual sinful actions, you can do as God commands, or you can deviate, which is sinful. Outside of that, if there's no commandments about it, there's no sin involved. God does not concern himself in that area. You can do as you please. You can breathe, you can pick up rocks, you can mow a lawn, you can drive a car. As long as you're not using that action in a manner that's contrary to God's directive.
There we go. What he considers sin. Okay, not so like I'm confused what your point would be from all of this.
I don't understand how you're confused. If you don't kill people, if you don't sin, if you don't sin, you don't need Jesus, which means you can go to heaven. But everybody alive lives in sin basically from day to day. So we need to accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior in order to go to heaven, because accepting Jesus forgives us for our sins. It's basically pardoning us from the life of sin that we've been living in, to allow us to go on to not go to hell, basically.
Okay, I'm confused why you. I'm confused why you think that's adding anything.
You're confused, and like I don't know where you're confused at.
Like
Perhaps you can
I've
tell me.
known that. I know that. I'm confused how that. Like of course that's what your view is. How does that explain anything to me right now?
Are you concerned about? Are you confused about sin? What is a sin? Or are you confused about what
No.
God's directives are?
No.
Or
I'm confused why
because
you're
we were
bringing
having a
that up.
discussion about you picking up a rock, and I specifically said that that's not something God's concerned with. There's
I
nowhere
know
in the.
that's like exactly what my point is. Is that again there are things that
So how is that
deviate from that
contrary?
because you were making a claim originally that if something was not good, then it is bad. Okay?
I
And I
made
was
that claim
responding to that point.
specifically. I said that specifically about God's commandments. I said God's gives us
Okay, that's
directives,
still the same thing.
and those directives are good. If we act outside of them, then it's bad.
You're
It's
saying,
sin.
I think you mean act against them. It's not that we act outside of them, it's that we act against them, under your view.
It could be either or.
No, it can't, because I gave you a scenario where we acted outside of it, right? And it wasn't wrong.
You're not giving a scenario where you're acting
Pick up a
outside of
rock.
God's commandments.
You pick up a rock. What commandment says it's right or wrong to do that? No commandment says anything about whether or not pick up a rock is right or wrong just in of itself, okay? That's my point.
Yeah, we're not talking about rocks, though. We're talking about sin.
Dude, why did I bring up a rock? I'm bringing up a rock to demonstrate what?
You're bringing up a rock or whatever to demonstrate a gray area. That's not talked about in the Bible or anywhere.
Yeah, and that's just to respond to your initial claim that again, if something is not in accordance with the Ten Commandments, then it is necessarily wrong. Okay, because then can you give me an argument as to why I don't know, incest is wrong? Right?
Because
It's
it
not in the
says
Ten
specifically in the
Commandments.
Bible not to.
Okay, it's not in the Ten Commandments though.
No, I was using the Ten Commandments as a point of reference.
Point of reference. Okay, well, I mean, you could relate to other things within the. Again, you
I
could
mean,
relate
there's
to Old
plenty of other
Testament.
things that are not allowed or disallowed or whatever in the Bible or whatever, that aren't listed in the Ten Commandments or whatever. But it also says that God gave man a conscience so that he would be able to distinguish right from wrong as well. So
Yeah, so
obviously,
God gave
nobody
them innate
alive is,
knowledge. Another
huh?
circumstance in which God gave innate knowledge, exactly to the point that I'm making, that again, knowledge doesn't have to only come from experience. And that knowledge, again, here, because he said that God gave us a conscience, came directly from God.
Yeah. So you inherently know deep down in your bones what's right and wrong without God having to tell you. And when you choose to violate that, that's when you fall into sin.
Yeah, so this is the case that God can give us this knowledge without it having to go through experience. So
That is the case.
you just proved my point that again, we don't need experiential knowledge. And if we don't need experiential knowledge, the suffering that is accrued through the experience is not necessary for the knowledge or for the end goal.
Well, the conscience is the knowledge ahead of the sin. So you know before you do something, before you commit an act of sin that was given to you by God. So by your very definition, you've been given the experience and the information, everything you need in order to not sin, but you've just chose to ignore it.
I don't think that's necessarily true, clearly, because I don't think we have the same moral intuitions.
Everybody has the same moral intuitions.
No, it's not true.
Well, except for sociopaths. I would say
Do
those
you think
people are
abortion is
morally
wrong?
devoid. Do I think abortion? I know in the Bible, abortions, it says murder is bad. It's a sin.
Yeah, so I think that I think it's not murder until the fetus is sentient, right? So we have a difference in intuition there.
That's not a difference in intuition. That's just a
Nah, it
difference.
clearly is a difference in intuition.
No, it's basically you've been taught one way that you happen to want to agree with because it jives more with how you are.
That's a difference in intuition.
A lot of people have been conditioned to believe certain things or whatever, but once they hear the truth or whatever, they start to recognize slowly.
So they didn't recognize before.
Well, a lot of people don't recognize what's the actual truth is until later in life through experience and stuff and suffering.
So
So
they needed it from experience. They didn't have it already. But you're saying that they did have this knowledge already. It was already in their heart. So it seems like this knowledge wasn't already in their heart.
no, they have the you. Okay, I'll explain it to you like this. You have an opinion about abortion, but you're never ever going to have an abortion in your life that we know of because I don't see you ever getting pregnant. But I mean, there's science now where you could possibly get pregnant, but I don't know why you'd go through the whole process of getting pregnant
There is
just to
science of you getting
feel.
me pregnant. No, it's not. What?
Yeah, there's science right now where men are getting pregnant. They're implanting fetuses, attaching it to the large intestine. Yeah, men are having babies now. Just FYI.
Can you send me the source? Like me?
Yeah, men. You can go online and look it up. There's men that have been having babies now for like the past year. That's not a misinformation. I'm being 100% serious.
I literally
That's not even a joke. I wish I was joking because I think it's hella crazy. But yeah,
I
it's
don't think
serious.
this is happening.
The sac is a result of the baby's.
Can you let me know
Let me
how
let me let me
they
see, let me see if I can find it online for you real quick.
are you talking about trans men or cis men? Because I'm not trans.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like you could decide at some point in your life you as a man want to have a baby. I'm assuming you're a man. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm
But
biologically male. I'm a man, right? I don't think there's a single way that I could get pregnant myself. I don't think
not
that's
without not without
possible.
not without pharmaceuticals and physicians and all that stuff.
I don't think even with them I could get pregnant.
Yeah, they got IVF clinics and stuff.
That's not getting me pregnant.
Well, I'm saying if you had the desire, they could go ahead and implant you with an embryo or whatever, and
No,
you could carry a baby to term.
no, I can't. What? I'd have no organ to do that.
You don't need a vagina. It's called a C-section.
Yeah, you need a fucking uterus, bro. I don't have a uterus.
You don't even need a uterus anymore. Don't
What?
ask me how the science works or whatever. I can pull it up for you. And
Where did you get this information? Please, I'd love to hear this.
Oh.
I don't need a uterus to carry a baby? I
Yeah.
don't think we're currently Kryptonians.
No, the science has progressed to the point where men can carry a baby to term, and then they have a C-section.
Biological males can carry a baby to term.
Yep.
Where in my body?
I just told you earlier, or whatever. They implant it on the, I think it's the large intestine.
Dude, no fucking way. No way.
It's crazy. You can look it up, but yeah, it's.
I literally
it's
am. I don't see it. I don't see it. Where's this? Like, I'll actually, John, I'll give you time to go find it. I actually really want to see this.
All right, 1 second. Let's see if I can locate it.
Parker said only sentient babies are alive. No, their life begins at conception. Sentient life is what I care about, though. Not cellular life. There's no way, dude. We're going to give it a second, everyone. In the meantime, while he tries to find it, tap that screen. Let's try to get to, 150,000 likes. If you disagree, send a guest request right now. If you want to help get it out to more people, share the live. We're at 69 shares right now. Let's try to get to 150. We're on the second account right now because we got suspended. We're going to be back on the main account by the 22nd, everyone. I still have no response on the appeal, which is really unfortunate. But if you want to help me out, you can help me out, everyone. Share the live. Oh, share the live. Thank you, Sky High. Appreciate the little crown. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, there's one website that the first one I came up to was called verywellhealth.com or whatever. It's about, they got an article about transgender pregnancy. And
what's the title?
It's got a medical review by Isabel Casimiro.
What's the title?
Understanding transgender pregnancy.
Is this for trans men?
Yes, or trans women.
Trans women.
Yeah, men that have transitioned to woman.
Very. No. Trans woman is biologically male and woman. Okay. Where does it say that this has happened? Where on this does it say it happened? I'm on the site right now.
I'd send you the link, but I have it. I'm pulling it up on my computer.
I'm on the link right now. I'm on it right now. I'm looking through.
It just said verywellhealth.com/transgender-pregnancy dash.
Dude, I'm already on the Very Well Health. I'm already on it. Where does it say? Like under what part of it?
1 second.
So there was a claim that in New Delhi, right, there would be soon a uterine transplant, right, but it has not been performed successfully. Never.
Say what?
Read.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. This one, the one that I'm on right now, has been peer reviewed and everything or whatever, but it's talking about vaginoplasty or whatever. So they basically create a surgical area for the baby to develop in.
Yeah, and they've conducted this and done it already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me where on this page it does that.
It's under trans, feminine people, and childbearing.
I'm looking at that right now. You want to know what it says? There is a somewhat common misconception that transgender women and trans feminine people can get pregnant after undergoing a vaginoplasty. That is not accurate. In order for someone in this group to become pregnant, she would have to have a uterus transplant. This is not a surgical option that is currently available for this population.
Oh, my bad. Hold on.
Dude, I can't believe it, dude. How'd you not read the source, bro?
No, I was reading it, but I was sitting there scrolling around when you were asking me where it says on the page.
Fuck, I just needed to turn off the background real quick. Just so people can read it real quick. It seems like that's not true, my guy. The
Okay,
source
here.
that you just sourced, it seems like debunked your own claim. In the very paragraph that you told me supported it.
Healthy boy.
In the meantime, everyone, tap that
Okay,
screen.
here we go. I got you another one. This one's ABC News. Is that fine with you?
Sure.
Okay. ABC News. Look for an article June 9th, 2009. Guy named Thomas
No, give me title,
Beatty.
dude. Why are you giving
Oh,
me
it says the title of it is called "Exclusive Pregnant Man Gives Birth to Second Child."
Man gives birth to second child. All right. All right, let's check this. Yeah, no, this is a trans man.
Where does it say he's a trans man?
Let me show you.
It said photos of a bearded Thomas Beatty with a pregnant belly caused a sensation last year, leading to headlines about the world's first pregnant man.
Read right under that.
Okay. Guess I'm going to have to fine tune my search a little bit better than that.
All right, good luck, man.
In the interest of saving time, I was sitting there sort of cutting corners.
Don't cut corners, man. Get your source,
Well,
bro.
I didn't want to waste everybody's time and chat or whatever because I know everybody's waiting and they want to see stuff or they want to hear debating and whatnot.
No, don't worry. We can chill with chat for a minute. You can have your time. Or I can give you time to find it and we can talk to someone else and then bring you back up.
We can just further have our discussion or whatever, and then I can just send you the information over as I find it. I'll actually be able to thoroughly vet it without having to feel pressed for time.
Oh, don't feel pressed for time. I'll have another conversation that'll just bring you back up after that. It will take a minute, so.
No, that's fine. I mean,
It's going to take me a minute to find it, so
That's fine.
I'd rather just finish
our conversation because I don't know if we're ever going to be able to have this debate again. So,
Yeah, we will.
well, not if I'm not on when you're not on.
I can follow you.
But I mean, I work. You've got things to do, so we may not be
I go
online
live
at the same time.
every
So,
single day for 6 hours at least. Every single day. I don't take breaks for weekends.
I work 10-hour days.
I don't take breaks, not every day. I don't take breaks for holidays. Every single day. I think we'll find a day.
It's completely possible. I could be wrong. I could have just come across. We'll just say, for the sake of argument, I am wrong. How about that?
Well, I mean, we could just talk about that then. We can talk about the rest of it then.
So, for the sake of argument, we'll just say that I'm wrong. That way,
Then
we can continue.
Let's get back to the question then.
Yeah, because I whether or not they're men or pregnant is not really important to me.
And what was that even in response to, by the way?
Basically, the way that question was going is, in reference to you being able to turn, like you have an opinion on abortion, and your opinion that abortion is fine. However, if you are a woman and you were pregnant or whatever, you may have a different, like, you may feel differently about abortion whenever you have the ability to decide whether or not you're going to terminate that life. You see what I'm saying? You'd have firsthand experience. Well, we were talking about a conscience and how conscience sort of allows you to forego having a negative experience or a bad experience.
So you're saying that
because you were saying that God should.
There are many women that are pro-choice. The point I'm getting is that we just have difference in intuition.
Well, what I'm getting at is you asked, why doesn't God give us all the information that we need in order to make the right choices? And I said, well, we have a conscience, and a conscience lets us know what right and wrong is.
No, my point was that if our conscience does let us know what right and wrong is, well, then we have knowledge that is innate, right? That aids to the idea that God can just give us this knowledge without us actually going through the experience.
Yeah, that's what he did. That's what a conscience is.
Yeah, so like, I mean, that again, that goes to my argument saying that experience is unnecessary for knowledge.
Nobody said experience was necessary for knowledge.
Okay, so if experience is unnecessary,
you don't have to experience something bad to know something's bad.
Yeah, then God making us go through experiences is causing unnecessary pain and unnecessary suffering. So you think that that's akin to the circumstance I brought up in terms of the kid has an illness, you either give them the cure or the cure in back pain, and that's akin to giving them the cure in back pain.
Yeah, but like I said earlier or whatever, there's some lessons that you just don't learn, even if you have the information, you just don't have the capacity to learn it unless you experience it.
And what limits you from that?
Yourself. Your desire to be obedient.
Okay, if there's something limiting you and says that you have to have this experience, then God doesn't know it and God needs the experience.
Got what? That doesn't make any sense.
If you said that you need the experience to have this knowledge and God doesn't have the experience, then God doesn't have the knowledge.
No, you have the knowledge. The experience comes as a result of disobedience. You've chosen to act in a manner that's not beneficial to you, and it's regardless of regardless of consequence. You've decided that the consequence is worth the experience.
Okay. So you think that the consequence is worth the experience when you could have less consequences in the same experience?
You could bypass the experience altogether or whatever, and choose not to experience the consequence.
Yeah.
Everything that you do in life or whatever, you're weighing options
So
of.
are you saying that I chose to go into this world where I'm in a physical body?
No, that was chosen for you.
Okay, so I didn't choose that. So God forced me into this circumstance.
Mm-mm. That's fair to say. Yeah, you were forced into the circumstance.
So God forced me into a circumstance that was unnecessary and caused suffering. So God
I wouldn't
forced
say
me
it's
into,
unnecessary.
but you just said it was unnecessary.
No, you said it was unnecessary.
No, that's literally what you were claiming. You were claiming that you didn't need it. I'm so
No,
confused right now.
I was saying, yeah, I was agreeing with you that God put you into this world. That's irrefutable or whatever. You're saying that you existing is unnecessary. That's what your statement was.
No, experience is unnecessary.
So you'd want to go through this life as sort of like a robot without the ability to decide and choose and do what you want to do and have
No, I can have the
enjoyment and
ability to
experience
do. I can
enjoyment.
have the ability to do what I want to do. I just have the knowledge to always do the right thing, or I'm perfect and I always do the right thing, right? The same way that God and Jesus is perfect and does the right thing without having any experiences prior to being perfect.
Yeah, but God doesn't want to create
God
more
didn't have to
gods.
have spiritual maturation. God didn't have to grow. God didn't need the experience to have the knowledge. So it seems to be the case that's possible that we don't need those things either. And if it is possible and God is all knowing and all powerful, God has the knowledge of how to create that world and God has the ability to actualize it.
God's not doesn't want to create more gods. He wants to create followers.
Well, the notion is that you don't have to create gods to make them perfect within this respect.
Yeah, they're not perfect unless they're God.
Well, if you're relating to flawless, right, perfect can be relative, right? So you could be perfect in the sense of morality, right, but not perfect in the sense of other terms. But actually, I would expect that there would be perfect, creation given a perfect creator. So if you agree that there's not perfect creation, well, then it seems like you'd also be in support of the idea that there's not a perfect creation. But I mean, a creator, right? But like when it relates to this, clearly speaking, are you rejecting the idea? Because I think that we brought this up earlier and we went past this, that a perfect creator entails a perfect creation.
No,
You
I
reject
think that
that or
our
no?
perfect creator, I think our perfect creator created us imperfectly with the intention that he didn't want to create more beings like himself. It would be sort of the equivalent of a
So
parent
God
giving birth.
prefers imperfection.
It would be sort of the equivalent of a parent giving birth to a fully grown and cognizant adult. You wouldn't need that other person. They would inherently they would know everything already. They could go out into the world and do whatever they wanted to do, completely separate of you. See,
Wait,
God created us. God created us because He wants to have kinship with us. He wants to have dialogue. He wants to basically be the parent to us. He doesn't. He
yeah,
doesn't
God
want
wants a
to have.
dependency relation.
Yeah,
Um,
we're in a dependency relationship here on Earth, but that's not going to be the case. Like after everything's said and done, after everybody dies and is reborn, if you will.
do I go to heaven?
If you believe in Jesus and you believe He died for your sins,
I don't believe that he was resurrected. So do I go to hell?
if you do not if you do not believe that Jesus is your Lord and Savior, and you don't believe that He died for your sins, then you've chosen to go to hell. He hasn't. God
I
hasn't
didn't
put
choose
you
to go
in
to
hell.
hell. I don't want to go to hell.
Think of it like this:
If
you have
hell
the
exists,
coast.
I wouldn't. I don't want to go, right? But my idea is that I don't know that it exists, right? And there's no reason for me to believe in it.
Well, here's the thing that you're not understanding. God's basically the Coast Guard. You're on a sinking ship. The Coast Guard comes by and goes, "Hey, would you like to accept this life raft?" And the life raft is basically the equivalent of Jesus. And you decide,
Who put
"No,
me
I'm
on
good."
the sinking ship? So God put me on this sinking ship and then comes to my saving. Right? This is essentially akin to someone being a quote unquote superhero that, breaks the bridge and then saves the bridge.
Not necessarily, because we have the capacity to not sin. We just choose not to. And because we chose to sin, we now are in need of God's help and forgiveness.
Yeah, the dependency relation is that God puts us in a state where we need his help and forgiveness, right? And if we don't accept his help and forgiveness, we go to eternal conscious torment. Like, if I don't believe that this thing exists without good reason, without good evidence or anything like that, if I don't just have faith, right? Like a trust me, bro, that this God exists, I get to suffer for the rest of eternity.
It's your choice.
That clearly wasn't my choice. A choice would be I had Cinnamon Toast Crunch in front of me and I had Lucky Charms in front of me, and I picked Lucky Charms. Okay? This is not a choice. Clearly speaking, if I had a choice of either going to heaven and hell, I'm going to pick to go to heaven. Clearly.
Well, that's simple. All you have to do is accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
I don't know that to be real. I don't know it to be true. It's the same thing as like any other religion that's being claimed to me. It's the same thing as someone saying that, like, when I die, I'm going to be living in a world with SpongeBob and Patrick and Bikini Bottom, right? Same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
It's fake. It's the same thing.
Think about it like this. How many of those religions have a hell?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, what I'm trying to point out is there's a lot of religion, like Hinduism. They believe that you're reincarnated as an animal, and depending on how good you were as a person, you could be a bigger or better animal, whatever. So there's not really any positive to holding true to that religion. If you believed in Islam or something like that, you do what they do in Islam.
Hold up, there is hell in Hinduism, right? It's just temporary in many senses.
Okay. Well, what I'm getting at is if it is temporary, then there's not really any benefit to that sort of, to like being beholden to that. But say I'm right, just for circumstance. Say I'm right, and say that you can choose to go to heaven, or you can choose to be saved, or you could choose to go to hell. Hell is temporary, but the lake of fire is not. It's everlasting. It is torture forever.
All because I didn't know that God exists. Oh, torture me forever because I didn't know God exists. Thank you. Great God.
Oh, you basically have chosen it. If you choose not to believe in Jesus.
I clearly didn't. That's deception.
That's not deception, because you can't tell me right now you don't have a choice. You've chosen.
Wait, I don't know this to be
logic.
Wait.
You've chosen logic over faith.
John, I told you, if I have a choice in front of me, I'm going to heaven, right? But that's not the choice that's given to me, right? You're telling me that I gotta believe in something that I have no knowledge of, or I go to this suffering. I don't even know this to be an accurate claim in the first place, so why would I believe it, right? So that
nobody
makes no
knows.
sense.
Nobody knows. Nobody alive today knows. That's what it's called, faith. That's why it's called believing.
Exactly, and that's why it's bullshit.
It's not called. It's not called fact.
Hold up, John. That's why it's bullshit for you to say that I'm going to get sent to an eternal suffering or eternal hell, because I just have to essentially guess that this is right.
But it's not a guess.
It literally is. It's faith, dude. I have to guess.
Well, here's the other part
evidence,
of it.
I have to guess. I literally have to say, okay, there's 2,000 religions. This one. Okay, let's see if I'm saved.
Well, here's the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize, that there's God's chosen people for salvation. So if you don't feel the need or the urge to believe in Jesus, it's probably because God has decided that He has not chosen you, and you're basically doomed.
Yeah. So God determined my hell. Thanks. So I didn't even have a choice.
Yeah, predestination is definitely something that is taught in Christianity. So, I mean, the people that don't accept Jesus or whatever,
so God just creates me to torture me. So, so an all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God creates someone to torture them.
No, it's not that.
He predetermined them to hell, so He did create them to torture them.
Well, you still have a choice.
What choice? He predetermined it.
Your choice isn't over until your life is over. So, I mean, later on down the road, you could sit there and come to
seriously, John, what choice? He predetermined it.
Yeah, nothing. You haven't been condemned
no choice
yet.
There. So God literally just created them, predestined them to torture, and tortured them. So God just wanted to torture them.
think about it like this. If I know who's going to win, let's say the World Series, and I decide to bet on the World Series or whatever, and it's basically a foregone conclusion, have I made it so that team wins? Or
Wait,
have I
say that
just,
one more time? Sorry.
if I know who's going to win the World Series, does it mean that I made it specifically so that they're going to win the World Series?
I'm not arguing that.
Yes, you are.
When
You're
did I
saying
make that argument?
you're saying that God has created you to be destroyed.
Yeah, I never argued that you don't have free will because God knows all things.
See, God knows the outcomes of everybody's life. He knows who's going to be
Saved and who's not going to be saved.
Wait, what? Say that again?
I said God knows who's going to get saved and who's not going to be saved. Because he's Alpha and Omega, he's the beginning and the end. He knows exactly what's going to transpire throughout your life. He knows what choices you're going to make before you even make them. But you're still being held responsible for the choices that you make.
Yeah, God. Yeah, okay. What's your point?
My point is, he hasn't created you to destroy you. He's created you, given you free will, and you've chosen to destroy yourself.
No, but you said wait. So what do you think is predestination?
Predestination is there's an outcome's already been divined.
What do you mean? So like, God determined what's going to happen to this individual?
Well, God already knows who's going to heaven or who's going to be in the book of life. So you're basically, in a sense, predestined for a specific person.
Oh, okay. So your notion of predestined here isn't predetermined. I thought you said predetermined, right? In terms of this, you're just saying that God knows.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not making an argument because God knows. I thought you were saying that God literally determines that they're going to hell, right, from their birth, right, and then it occurs. I didn't know you were saying God knows that they go to hell.
Yeah, he knows ahead of time who's going to make what choices in life and who's going to accept him and all that. So he already knows who's in the book of life. So I mean, it's possible sometime down the line or whatever, many years from now, could be tomorrow, could be 50 years from now, you could decide to be like, you know what, I'm starting to feel what people are talking about when they talk to me about Jesus and stuff like that, and it's starting to make sense and all this stuff. And only life experience is going to alter how you look at life and how you evaluate everything around you or whatever. And it's basically just the pains of growing as an individual and experiencing different things throughout life. So, I mean, everybody's worldview changes as they grow. And, like, I'll be honest, when I was your age, sort of the same situation or whatever. I operated on a sort of YOLO aspect or whatever. But as I grew, as I experienced more and more things or whatever, like, I grew to see the error of my ways in a sense or whatever, and that's something that you're not, nobody can tell you what it is. It's just something that you have to experience and grow from.
Did you really just condense down my position to saying that, like, I'm just doing a YOLO?
No, I said when I was your age, I did a YOLO.
I thought you were trying to use that to, like, compare to me, like say that you were similar to me. You were like me in that.
When I was your age, that would similar in age.
So you weren't saying that to parallel to me at all.
I was saying I had a similar mindset to you when I was your age.
Yeah, so you're saying that I have a mindset where I'm like YOLO.
No. I said I was going through life being like YOLO.
Yeah, and you said that I have a similar mindset to you. So if I have a similar mindset to someone who does YOLO, well then it's
no.
Like
I was talking about
YOLO.
You're drawing a false conclusion. When I said I had a similar mindset to you, I was questioning everything. I didn't care about like negative consequences, anything. I was doing the whole YOLO thing when I was your age.
And you said it was similar to me.
No, no, I
Within
was
what
saying I was
respect?
similar in age to you.
Okay.
I was similar in age to you, and I was questioning everything, much like you're doing right now. And I was doing the whole YOLO thing or whatever throughout my early 20s. Actually, I did it all the way up until I was about 30 years old. So,
And that has nothing to do with me.
no, what I was trying to do is draw a parallel between experience changing me and that same experience could change you later on down the road.
It could change you
Not
as
that you're
well.
gonna not that you're gonna have the same experience that I did, but that you're gonna at through your experiences as growing and experiencing more and more things or whatever, you may begin to sit there and think, hey, well maybe he's right, maybe there is a God, maybe Jesus is the way. That's
I
all
don't
things
know.
that you could question.
Instead of YOLOing like you, I thought about things. So it seems like I've formed different types of experiences and conclusions than you would have. Right? So clearly speaking, right, we just did our changes at different points, right? I grew up Christian. Right? My changing was directed from believing in it and deconstructing from that belief.
Oh no, I grew up in a very Christian house. I was the rebellious kid from the time I was 18 until I was about 30. Like
Okay.
I didn't sit there and respect any of my parents' rules and the commandments and listening to my conscience and stuff like that. But I mean, I've always been a deep thoughted person where I'm sitting there constantly evaluating things, much like you do.
So you're saying that you did evaluate it as much as me, and you think you had the same experiences within that extent?
We probably had similar growing up experiences whenever we were kids. And because you said you grew up Christian, I grew up Christian or whatever, but I didn't really, being Christian wasn't something I identified as like an actual Christian. It was sort of like,
I did.
my parents are Christian, so I'm Christian or whatever.
Well, I mean, I was
If that
Christian,
makes sense.
but I grew up in a Christian household.
Yeah, well, growing up in a Christian household doesn't make a person like it doesn't make a person Christian. It's much like
I
going to
was a
church doesn't make
Christian
somebody a
though. Like
Christian.
I believed in God, believed Jesus died and saved me, right? And I repented for my sins. Was I not a
Okay.
Christian? I was
That I would say that would
baptized.
be I would definitely say that falls in line with being Christian
Okay.
if you believed. So yeah, we
Yeah.
had similar childhoods or whatever, and that all changed for me when I turned 18.
Okay. So like the point I'm saying is that I've gone through changes, right? You've gone through changes. You're trying to say that my changes are going to somehow lead to like where you are, right? But couldn't I just say the same thing that you're going to change and then it's going to lead to mine because I've also gone through changes?
No, I think once you go through this specific change or whatever, there's no going back.
Well, once you go through the specific change that I'm referencing, there's no going back.
I've gone through that experience, and there's
I don't think
definitely going
so.
back. Yeah, doubting everything, thinking that there's no repercussions on
No accepting the
operating.
contradictions with the worldview.
The worldview is two sided or whatever. Like you can be well. I mean, it's actually more than two sided. There's like thousands of sides. What I'm getting at is specifically Christian versus non-Christian or whatever. And I had definitely adopted some non-Christian ideas in my head, much like you currently have um, in my early 20s and stuff. And I've basically cast those aside because nothing else makes sense.
What do you mean nothing else makes sense? Christianity doesn't make sense.
Of course, it makes sense. Christianity is
I
the
like
explanation of why we're
how?
here, how everything got here, and what we're supposed to do while we're here.
But like I okay. It attempts at explaining it, but so does every other religion, and I don't think it's a good explanation of it. I think that the explanation itself has contradictory notions.
How is it contradictory?
Yeah, so there's a few things, right? We could relate to the problem of evil, right, that we brought up kind of early in the live. We can relate to the perfection argument we brought up earlier into the
The
live.
perfection argument is not even an argument.
It clearly is an argument, right?
Like I said, God can be perfect and not create perfect things.
Right. So that would just be disputing the idea and the original premise of the argument, right? You're disputing the premise. Thank you. I appreciate the confetti. Thank you so much. That a perfect creator would entail perfect things created in the same sort of sense that a perfect test taker would entail perfect test taken.
Yeah, but there is no such thing as a perfect test taker. You've created a straw man.
What do you mean? There's in a logical sense, right? It's a hypothetical.
Well, it's
What
an
would you expect to
impossibility.
see?
It's an
It's not
impossibility.
impossible.
There's no such thing as a perfect test taker.
There could be.
There can't be.
There clearly could be. Right? If
Well, I
someone
mean,
was
I could ask for
intelligent
evidence,
enough.
but we both know you wouldn't be able to manufacture that.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I don't think that there's an individual in which is this way. Can you give me evidence of a perfect creator? No, you can't. So, like,
Yeah, I can give you an evidence of a perfect creator.
go for
Us
it.
existing here today.
That's not evidence of anything, right?
I
Because
can get.
that could be
Do
true
you
for
believe in
multiple different other
spontaneous generation?
hypotheses.
Do you believe in spontaneous generation?
What do you mean by spontaneous generation?
Life appearing from nothing.
I don't believe in that now.
Well, then there you go. Life
That
cannot
doesn't
give
mean that it
rise.
has to come from a god.
It absolutely has to come from a God. Where else would it come from? No, lack of life does not give
Right,
rise to
I gave
life.
you an explanation earlier, John. I gave you the simplicity argument too, right?
You gave me you said something about some random particles or whatever. But that's not
Fundamental
that's not a
particles.